6 months ago, my leg was broken during Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in a way that will affect me for the rest of my life. In this video, I will tell you all about the difficult recovery that I had after the surgery, how much I managed to recover my leg, and if I will continue to do martial arts at all. Now, first of all, a quick recap of what happened to my leg. I was attending a regular Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu open mat training, during which one of my partners decided to try out one of the most dangerous and in most places illegal moves in BJJ and Judo, the scissor takedown, also known as kanibasami, which looks like this.
Is there a Deborah Anderson?
When my grappling partner was performing the move, I started to feel my leg bending in a direction it was not supposed to bend until I heard a loud pop and felt my leg give in a way it is not supposed to give. Then after some rolling around on the ground, screaming my lungs out of pain, I was brought to a hospital where I learned that my shin bone, one of the strongest bones in the body, was broken. To make things worse, it was an intra-articular fracture, which means that the fracture went all the way through the shin bone to the knee joint, which could affect my knee for the rest of my life with possible osteoarthrosis in the future, a condition that leads to cartilage deterioration, which in turn may lead to bones starting to rub into each other and lots of pain in between the knees instead of cartilage supporting the motion. I then learned that I needed a complex 3-hour surgery, which left me with 2 gnarly scars, 2 metal plates, and 13 screws inserted into my leg that are going to stay in my body for the rest of my life, and that I had months of rehabilitation ahead of me. To make things worse, my recovery after the surgery was not easy either, as when I was admitted to leave for my home, on top of the broken leg, I developed nerve inflammation on my upper back from the prolonged lying in the hospital bed, something that led to spasms in my shoulder that left me looking like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. As I got back home, the nerve inflammation kept me bound to my bed for days. Not that I could go anywhere far anyway, as I was not allowed to put any weight on the broken leg for at least 2 months, which meant I was going to be bound to crutches for a while. Unfortunately, things did not continue to get better from there, as my operated leg was swollen like a balloon and I kept having a fever, which turned out to be a sign of an infection from the surgery. I then had to make multiple trips to a doctor while walking with crutches with and inflamed shoulders, something that I highly don't recommend doing for how painful it was. As the result of the infection, I had to take a series of antibiotics to overcome it. It then took me at least 2 weeks to start to feel at least somewhat normal, once the inflammation, the fever, and the infection decreased. But then I was left with a weakened body, atrophied muscles, and a leg that I couldn't place any weight on or even bend. You see, in order for the bone to heal properly, my leg was put into an adjustable cast. This did not make walking with crutches easier, even more so with a weakened body, which left me completely exhausted only after 10 minutes of crutch walking. It also turned climbing stairs into one of the most difficult exercises of my life. At the same time, I was not planning to lie around and wait, and I decided to do everything possible to recover as best as I could, as quickly as I could, in order to increase my chances for my leg to recover back to normal. The first thing that I did was find out about all the possible supplements that enhance recovery, ranging from bone and tissue healing, as the body's ability to heal highly depends on the nutrients available to it. That is why I spent hours researching all the possible supplements that could improve my recovery, and I took all of them. At the same time, that is also when I learned about and became a fan of AG1, as initially I spent hours searching for and ordering all the right supplements that I needed, and with a cupboard full of them, it took a lot of effort and time every day to take them, especially with crutches. But here's where AG1 came in. It's an all-in-one supplement that features more than 70 ingredients ranging from vitamins, minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, adaptogens, and superfoods. And the best part is that instead of taking dozens of supplements every day, all I needed to do was to shake up a bottle of water with AG1's good-tasting powder, something that I could do even with crutches, by the way, then drink it, and I was done with most of my supplements I needed for the day. To make things even better, AG1 features not only necessary vitamins and minerals such as A, C, E, B complex, and more, but also has gut-promoting probiotics and prebiotics which help break down food, making important nutrients for tissue and bone recovery such as calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D more available to the body. AG1 also has other neat elements such as stress and inflammation reducing herbs like ashwagandha and energy and focus enhancing elements such as Q10, meaning you will not only get all the vitamins you need, but you'll also experience its energy and focus improving benefits. If you're traveling, AG1 has you covered as well, as instead of needing to bring a whole canister, you can order separate single-use packets which are very convenient to bring anywhere with you. Since AG1 has been kind enough to sponsor this video, if you're interested to try it out, there's a great offer now, where by going through the link link in my description or by scanning the QR code in the corner, you'll not only get a $20 discount for your first subscription, but also a welcoming kit that includes 1 year's supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 drops, a shaker, scoop, canister, and 5 AG1 travel packs. So if you wanted to try out AG1, now is a great chance, since the offer won't last long. So head to my link to check it out now. The second thing that I did for my recovery was devoting myself to physical rehabilitation. During the time, I was not allowed to bend my leg at all, so there were few exercises that I could do with a broken leg. But what I could do was to train the rest of my body, not only to recover muscles which hadn't been used for a while, but also to encourage a process known as cross-education or cross-training effect, a phenomenon that occurs when strength training one limb, in this case a leg, that leads to strength improvements in the same muscle group on the opposite untrained limb. Although less, the same effect also applies by benefiting the lower body when you're training the upper body. So I did all the possible exercises that I could do in order to make sure that happens. While I was forbidden to bend my leg at all for the first month, the cast which prevented me from doing so also had adjustable angles, which later I needed to increase, as a result giving me access to slide bending of the leg. That's because when you don't bend your leg for a long time after surgery, a process known as fibrosis begins, which is the formation of scar tissue that is good for healing, but the fibrous tissue becomes so hard that if you don't break it apart soon enough by moving and exercising, there's a chance that you will lose mobility and your ability to fully bend your leg for the rest of your life. That is why after 2 weeks, as suggested by my doctors, I increased the cast bending angle by 10 to 20 degrees, and I started regularly moving my leg within that range, even though at the beginning it was rather painful and uncomfortable. The first thing that I did in order to enhance my recovery was the use of an infrared lamp, which I was skeptical at first of, but then once I read countless of articles about its scientifically proven effects on healing by boosting mitochondrial cells that are essential in recovery, I was glad to keep shining that red light on my broken bone. With the free elements in place, I continued to put all of my effort I could, bi-weekly increasing the angle of how much I could bend my leg, and even though it felt initially impossible to do, after enough reps, and with some support from my doggo, my knee flexion started to improve. I was also given permission to start placing partial weight on the broken leg after 2 months, which I will tell you honestly was scary and difficult to do after such a long time. But with practice, I became capable of initially taking a few steps, then a few steps more, until eventually I was able to go to places such as visiting a physiotherapist to develop an in-depth program for the next steps of my recovery that I obviously kept working on daily. I even also managed to go to the gym, although I'll admit going to the gym with crutches was pretty funny. After about 3 months, it was time for me to do an x-ray to see how much the bone has healed. To my doctor's surprise, he told me that the healing was happening exceptionally fast, likely to all of the effort I've been placing into my recovery. And after about 4 months, very cautiously, I started walking without any crutches. But that is where the essential question came to my mind. Even with the leg healed, do I really want to go back to martial arts? I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure. During these past 2 years, I had more injuries than I had in years. I feel the wear and tear on my body with various parts constantly aching from other countless injuries I've accumulated through years of training in martial arts. Admittedly, I was always a very ambitious person, so part of that is on me. When I would train hard. I would go to 5 to 6 classes per week for years, and I wouldn't take it easy on myself. But now I wonder, why do I really do it? To whom and what was I trying to prove? I mean, I'm not a professional athlete or fighter who needs to deliver results or beat another person in a match to get a paycheck. And while I used to love martial arts, it wasn't always that I went on the mat because of my love for them. Quite often, I went to martial arts training because it was a habit, because I was committed to doing so, or occasionally because I wanted to become better than someone else. And I would push myself hard in order to get to those results, often hard enough to get injured. But yet again, now I'm asking myself, to what end? The older I get, the more and more I realize that there are certain things that I can do exceptionally well, such as, for example, organizing a self-defense championship. Meanwhile, I will never become a professional athlete. It's too late for that. So why push myself so hard instead of putting that same energy into something that I am uniquely good at? And why take so many risks? For example, in training with people who are sparring like their lives depend on it. Thinking about it all, I realized that even if I were to continue doing martial arts, I need to change my approach on how I do that. For too long now, I have been going to training as if it were a mandatory thing. Sure, sometimes you need to push yourself off the sofa in order to stay healthy, but you can also stay healthy by going to the gym, something that I'm considering doing sometimes instead of martial arts as well, by working on my overall fitness and mobility in order to keep my body healthy. I also want to be much more mindful of where and who I train with. I mean, this is a hobby for me. And yeah, sometimes I could still push myself, but on most days, I want the training to be enjoyable and with people I trust, instead of, I quote, challenging myself against guys who want to rip my head off. Honestly, I think I had enough of that. But then again, it's easy to talk and philosophize about it all when I haven't trained in martial arts for nearly 6 months. Instead, let's go on the mat for the first time after my surgery and find out how I feel then. So I'm here with my wife at a brand new gym that was opened by a friend of mine who promised to go easy on me. And to be honest, I'm a bit anxious because it's hard to come back after so long to train, and there's the injury and the leg doesn't feel all fully healed. And I wasn't entirely eager to come here, but I had to push myself to see how I will feel after the training, and hopefully, who knows, I'll get my love back. And actually, before we go, one more cool thing I'll show you. These are the 2 gnarly scars, which are looking already much better. But the coolest part is this bump. If you look at this leg, and you look at this leg, there's nothing like it. This is actual metal sticking out from the leg. There's one on the other side, but it's not as visible. So yeah, this is me for the rest of my life now. So the training's over. I survived, but it was really weird to train because I don't feel this part of the leg. A doctor friend of mine said that probably I cut off a nerve, or the surgeons cut off a nerve. So when I put my leg on here on the mat, it feels like nothing. It's a really weird sensation. There's also all sorts of pain and movement here in the knees. So it was a bit difficult to train, but I did it, I survived. And honestly, I was hoping that maybe after this training, I'll be like, yeah, I love martial arts. And I can't say I'm yet in that place. I think I will need time to recover, to get to enjoy it again. I think still, honestly, I'll be much more focusing in the future on production, organizing such events as the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship, and I think martial arts will become much more of a hobby for me, but I still need to recover my leg, get into it, make it into a habit again, and we'll see where the journey will take me. So far, we'll just have to wait and see. I still have to do a few more trainings, and I'll keep you updated. I'll do my best to keep owning my journey, and I wish you to keep owning your journey yourself. If you want to see 6 martial arts experts competing against each other in various realistic self-defense scenarios, click on this video right here.